How's it going? I'm Ryan. Today I'm going to go over the two trades that I took on MES and two trades that I took on MNQ. Two trades on ES were losers, two trades on NQ were both winners, had a decent day overall. Before we get into those trades though, we're going to look at some charts here on the hourly. We're going to look at both ES and NQ and talk a little bit about what I was watching. So we were above all-time highs on ES. In the after hours and pre-market today, we set a pre-market high. We kind of had this pre-market swing low, right? We opened up pretty high. You can see we dumped right through it. We'll get into that in a second. Things I was watching for us to come down and hold this area in here, maybe a support and continue on. I was watching in here for a bounce, which didn't really happen. We did get a little bit of a bounce kind of down in here, which you see some wicks down in this area. So found a little bit of support in there. But the zones I was watching were around 53.47 to 53.49, 53.33 to 53.30 or so, and then 53.07 we'll say to 5300. So that's about what we were watching. We also had yesterday's highs and lows in there. And then we'll look at NQ real quick. Similar thing, right? We have yesterday's highs and lows. We have all-time high, pre-market swing low. Same thing. We are kind of watching. We did get a bounce off yesterday's high a day, so we'll talk about that. Watch this zone around like 18,816 to 18,801. This zone 18,760 to 18,750. 18,710 to say 18,690, and we got yesterday's low, and then I guess the very low, very low of the day, right around this zone down here at 18,622 to 18,610. So that would have been a nice bounce to catch that. Holy. All right, with that being said, coming into the day, like I said, we were all-time highs, didn't really have a super strict game plan. We're just gonna let things play out a little bit and trade it as it went. We opened super weak on both ES and NQ. The very first trade that I took off was on ES, so we'll take a look at this. I took a call in here. Or a call. I keep saying a call. I took a long position on ES. I forgot that we had news coming out 15 minutes after open. So you can see this is 14 minutes after open. Once we came down and started to kind of round out and hold, and we formed this hammer candle on the 5,000 tick chart here around yesterday's high. Also, I was watching and just looking back and seeing that we definitely had, you know, some price action in this area, like some support, some resistance, some support, resistance. We had some price action in this area. We had a massive sell-off from the morning, came down, formed the first green candle, looked like we were starting to round out, maybe make bounce from here. We can also look at it from this lower time frame here. We'll look at the 1,000 tick chart. So this is what you're seeing on the 1,000 tick chart here, and I'll try to make this a little bit better here. But right where we're seeing that green hammer, we're seeing this. We had a little bit of support at yesterday's high, and we kind of broke and then started to round and gain a little momentum to the upside. I guess I should have noticed by that lack of volume on that move to the upside that maybe something was a little wrong. But yeah, I entered right in here forgetting that we had news at 7:45. We had news at 7:45. This dropped down. My fill was, I think, right here at 42. So I was immediately pretty much underwater. Once we started failing to break above essentially my entry point, I slid my stop loss up a little bit. Once we, I had that news, I just set my stop loss below this low. But once we started making our way up and I saw we were still looking weak, I moved my stop loss up because I figured this was probably going to be a losing trade, and I just didn't want to take max risk on that. What was I targeting? So ideally I was targeting, like a return to maybe up to like this level, like 5,350 from my entry, which would be about like an 8-point move or so, or maybe just up into this zone, which would be like a 5 to 7-point move. So just targeting a little bit of a relief bounce there. That was my first trade. Wouldn't have taken it had I known that we had news at that moment, because I just blanked and forgot, and that gave me a I was pretty much down on the position as soon as I entered, so it was a little unfortunate. From there, we continued to be weak. I shifted over to NQ and took my next 2 trades on NQ, so let's take a look here. So what did I take? I liked what I was seeing here when we had pulled back, almost like a little head and shoulder here. That break and retest that neckline, I actually stepped away. We got that break and I was waiting for the retest. We didn't quite get it, but we did get it a little later and I wasn't paying attention, but that would have been one of the better entries all day long. Nevertheless, I did take a long position down in here. Why did I take a long position? Because I saw us, same thing, right? We'd been falling, but now we're kind of starting to round out, right? We're starting to hold a little bit of support. That downward momentum has ceased. It's more horizontal in here. We're starting moving a little sideways, not making lower lows, not making higher highs, but holding yesterday's high. If I extend that, holding that as support. So I liked what I was seeing in here. I entered a single long position when we started to break above here. I entered a long position when we pulled back down into this area again. I added to my position because my fill wasn't so great. So my first fill was somewhere up in here. I got nearly the bottom tick of this swing down. So I put another entry limit order down in here. So when we pulled back, that filled me, brought my average entry price somewhere right in here around like 18,852, which was great. When we moved up, I trimmed one and then left another as a runner with a trailing stop. I got stopped out on this pullback. What was I aiming for? I was aiming for this level, like right up in here. Would have been about a 40-point move. That was my initial target, either there or this was like the moon target up in here around like 18,930. You see we hit right up in here. But that's what I was going for. Unfortunately, this move back stopped out my trailing stop. So trimmed one on this move up, held the other and got stopped out on this pullback here. This pullback essentially came right back down towards my entry price. So could have got stopped out for break even. I got stopped out for a small gain, and then we immediately rocked up to my take profit of about 40 points or so. So that would have been a really, really, really nice move. But we didn't capture that whole thing. Nonetheless, that was a winning trade, and I was positive from my first loss after this. My second trade on on NQ, I got a call, a long position right here. Reason being, we had a breakout and retest, so we had formed, what was I looking at here? Right here. We'd formed a bottom, and we had started to reverse this trend a little bit. We had formed a low, a higher low, swing high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and we were pushing up. I saw that we were kind of rejecting off this area, and then we got a really strong break through it. As we came down and retested that, I entered a long position. Target was the top of the swing high. That was really nice. That was pretty much a 20-point play to the dot. I got in right at pretty much the bottom of that, and we retested that trend line and got out right around the top there. So that was a 20-point win. That was really nice. My stop loss was about, I'd have to look at a smaller time frame to look at stop loss here. We can examine that other trade on NQ as well while I'm in this lower time frame. So we're looking at this. So yeah, I entered a position in here. My first position, I was saying, when we pulled back, I entered another position in here, trimmed one off on this move up, and then left a trailing stop that was stopped out by this move down. I think I put it right below this swing low here, then we broke down, that stopped me out for a profit. So pretty decent move overall. So like I was saying, you can see we kind of reverse trend. We were looking a little bit stronger. I took this swing high and this swing high, seeing that we were still making higher lows. It looked like we wanted to go up. Drew that trend line. Then once we broke and retested, I got in, taking this as take profit. My stop loss was down. I think it was like right in here somewhere, kind of right around in this area of support. So stop loss was about 10 points from entry, maybe 10. Yeah, about 8 to 9 points, I'd say, and take profit was 20. So decent move, decent. And then my third, or excuse me, at this point I had a pretty nice day pretty nice day overall, pretty nice winning day. I took one more chance trade that was a loss and gave some money back. That was my fourth and final trade on ES. So let's take a look and let's talk about what went wrong. So on ES, we had come down, formed these lows, broken those lows of day, and then we were coming up to retest this area. So I took a short position in here. I was in the money for a little bit when we had this move down, but once we pushed up, I got stopped out. So we'll take a look at a smaller time frame and examine why or where I took this trade. And I also just want to say, looking at this now, obviously this is pretty bullish. There's not really any indication of a rejection in here, so that trade was a little eager. Really, I was only taking it because it was a break and retest of a support level that would held through the morning. So I was looking for that to turn into resistance and reject and maybe get continuation. I was targeting low a day. I'll get into stop loss and take profit, but take profit was about 7 points. Stop loss was 2.5 points. So lost 2.5 points there, ended up green overall on the day. But I could have avoided this trade. I didn't get necessarily an entry signal that I'd want to see. Usually I want to see a nice close or convincing candle closes on this 5,000 tick chart, this a little bit higher time frame, such as I was seeing here on NQ. Right, we come down, we get multiple closes holding that level. That gave me the confidence to get long in here, that we were going to hold. We didn't have that when we came up and retested that low. Right, we looked real strong. We pushed right up in. We had bullish engulfing. We pushed right up into it. There was no consolidation. There was no wicks. Even something like this where you had to move up a longer wick, 2 candles failing to break higher and then a reversal, or something like this, or even a reversal pattern like this where we have a lower high, wicks on top. Wasn't getting that here is what I'm trying to say. I didn't really have a great reason to join that trade. Let's take a look at that on the lower time frame here. This will be the last thing we examine because this is the last trade that I took. So where are we now? Here we are. So we were holding this level in here pretty well all day. Broke it down. This retest would have been the perfect one. This retest here, and then we made that new low. But when we pushed up in here, I got to fill my entry I had a good entry. My entry is right in this area around 53.24. My stop loss was above these wicks here at 53.2650. So I had about a 2.5 point stop loss. I was up about 3 points when we made this move down here. This hammer right here, at this previous level that we were holding, right? This previous low, if we look at where that is, we look at where that hammer is, you can see how that lines up. That should have given me some indication that we reclaimed that low day, right? We had a dip, we quickly reclaimed it. Also look at how quickly we reclaimed it versus how long it took to break, right? We have these little small candles just inching their way down, inching their way down, inching their way down. Then we get a massive reversal, right? Huge bullish engulfing candles all the way up into that level and above it. Then we come down and we hold it with a hammer. So I should have seen this. This would have been an insane entry long. You'd see that momentum carried us all the way back up into this zone. We had a little bit of a trend line here that we broke and kind of got another swing high, but this would have been a really great entry long, not an entry short. So, maybe I should have just had my bias not so bright, I guess, because I was looking to the downside. I entered this trade, like I said, even on this lower time frame, I don't really have a reason, right? We're very bullish pushing up into this area. We're not showing really any signs of rejection or even decrease in momentum, right? We're pushing strong right up into this level. Like I said, we break above it, reclaim it, hold it with a hammer right at that level that we bounced from before, looking at like 10-point swings. So this would have been a great opportunity for a long. And that had the makings of a good trade. I just ended up being on the wrong side of it. I did have good risk management. I was already up well on the day, so I was playing with a little bit of profit. I didn't mind taking a couple point loss on ES, but it was avoidable had I not, entered that trade I guess I had my mind made up that I was entering the trade regardless of seeing what I wanted to see. So that's it. That's all I got. Still ended up decent, but can learn from that as well, because that's a very nice setup that I'd love to take in hindsight. That's all I got for you. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. I stream live throughout the week, so I'll be here tomorrow if you feel free to join me if you'd like. Besides that, have a great rest of your day. Peace.